Welcome to Buckets and Bubbles.
Hello.
I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
because I went on my friend's live stream, who's a Spurs fan, and we talked a lot about Leeds, and it was all quite sensible, ish. I mean, I lowered the tone, obviously, because I don't know what I'm talking about. But one of the things that I find quite interesting, and I mentioned you, it was more about mentioning West Ham,
Right.
because I've got a question for you. He was using language very similar to language that I hear you use and other West Ham fans about sort of, and actually Manchester United fans as well at the moment, about you know, it's not the Manchester United way, or it's not the West Ham way, it's not the Tottenham way, or this is the sort of football that that we want. He started off, his first question to me was asking me about Thomas Frank, and I said, I think you'd be hard pushed to go into a pub and have a conversation with anybody who thought that Thomas Frank was a crap manager.
Yeah.
He was basically saying, yeah, but it's not, it's not Tottenham, it's too, conservative and blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking to myself, I've heard you use language like this.
Yeah.
Now, my problem here is two things. First of all, are we talking legacy? Are we talking like 40, 50 years ago? Or is it all utter nonsense from the lot of you? Because ultimately, all you really want is to win. Tottenham beat us 2-1. No way on God's earth did they deserve it. The first half, right, because he does a watch-along, and I watched a bit of it back, and the first half, he had people on his channel going, this is the best we've played, first half of football we've played all season. And I'm sat there watching it going, seriously? This is the best you've played, because you haven't outplayed us. Your squad is probably, 6 or 7 times more cost-wise than ours is. The talent that you've got, are you telling me this is the best you have? Because if you're second in the division, which they were after the game, if this is the best you've got, we're going to be absolutely fine. So my question, I'm going to go back to the question.
I'm eager to answer.
Is it all tosh? Mike, do you really care what your football is like, or do you actually just want to win?
I think conflating wanting to win and good football is a mistake. I think they are two separate things. So you can enjoy winning football, you can enjoy winning games, you can certainly enjoy winning a European trophy, as we did, playing shit football. I'd like to also say that the Manchester United way and the Spurs way don't exist. They don't. They stole that phrase from West Ham. It's always been the West Ham way. Since the 1930s, West Ham have always played a particular way. Ball on the floor, entertaining football, regardless of the result.
Hang on. Let me just stop you there just for a minute. When have you played like? Since then, when have you played like that? Up
until we were relegated in 2010, 2011. You could probably say we played West Ham way right up until then. Until Sam Allardyce came in and the current board came in, and
so that's 15 years ago.
Yeah. So, which is where a lot of the issue with our board come from, because they are steady eddies. They are bare minimum, and legacy-wise, we have always played it. We've never been massively successful, but we've always played a certain way of football. And it's always been the West Ham way. And it's something which has garnered trophies over the years. 3 times FA Cup winners, European Cup winners, World Cup winners. We've always done that.
Mark Noble. You might as well put Mark Noble's name
Mark
in
Noble, one of the last only club men in the Premier League history. I wouldn't say we've ever really kind of stuck to a particular formation or anything like that. But there's always been an ethos. There's always been an ethos that you don't go route one. And you don't sit back and defend and try and play out a draw. It's always, we'd rather lose 3-2 than win 1-0. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but would you though?
Yeah. And it's always been like the change is the change has always been in the last kind of 15 years or so. It's the move to London Stadium and it's this board. That if we went down this year, that stadium would be an absolute anchor, and we would not be able to fill it, and it would become a hollow taunt of every away team coming in. It would just be an anchor around our neck and would drag us. Did I enjoy the European runs? Absolutely. Did I enjoy watching us win those games, playing in that manner? Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, you want to see your team do well, and you especially want to see your team do well in Europe.
This is not answering my question. This is not answering the question.
Absolutely is.
It 100% isn't.
Go on.
Because what you're saying to me is, and this is what he was saying, right? And I know damn well that none of the Tottenham fans give a shit how they played against us. They just got the 3 points. Yeah. But my counter to this is that essentially what happened with Tottenham was that they scored 2 deflected goals. What Tottenham did at Ellen Road was park the bus.
Yeah.
They parked the bus for 15, 20 minutes. Now, they were lucky. There were at least 3 really good opportunities, and they were lucky that we didn't score. And it wasn't their defending. That was the fact that we missed the target, or, Calvert-Lewin missed the target again. I think Pirlo pulls it. Actually, you mentioned this on the last episode. Calvert-Lewin nods the head down for Pirlo in about 93 minutes, something like that. Pirlo hits the target where normally he would have scored. He's a bit rusty, though he's not been playing. And the keeper makes a decent save. If one of those goes in, there's a very different conversation.
Yeah.
A very different conversation about Thomas Frank. A very different conversation about the football.
Moyes is probably the best example because it's the most recent and everybody's kind of got a memory of what it was. And also there's the antithesis of what is believed to be an appropriate response in the fact that he won a trophy and we still hated it. And it is, and you're absolutely right. It's about it's narrative, and I think it's about how the pundits react to certain, and like Moyes is a very media savvy person. He has lots of friends in the media, so he gets a certain response, and people, I think, want him to do well, given that he had such a shit experience at Man United. And there is also that idea of a Sky Sports top 6, which is a phrase which other YouTubers use, specifically like on Hammers Chat, they use that one. But I like it. It explains it really well. The Sky Sports top 6. So it's Spurs, it's it's Arsenal, it's all those teams. Maybe the 6th one changes, so like it'll be Everton or Villa or whatever. But it's those.
Newcastle.
Yeah. It's that idea. And if you're not one of those, then if you play like we did under Moyes, you get that idea of we win but we're not happy, and it's like, oh, you're ungrateful, West Ham fans. It's like, we're not ungrateful, we're happy with the result. We just want to be able to go to the football and watch a game that entertains us. And it's like, you get some pundits and they'll talk about West Ham fans being very intelligent and all this kind of stuff in terms of understanding the game. I think I've just called everybody stupid. I haven't. But like, there is all this kind of legacy of the players that have been through that club, of the games that, there's famous games like of Ipswich under the lights and all this stuff, which every club has. But I think there's a particular style associated with those, which feels like sort of an insult to a club which has always been really working class. It's always been really rooted in that community, and has always been something where the fans have felt that 90 minutes at the football was always the shining bit. And it's the same for a lot of working class clubs. But I think it's because those legends have been passed down, father to son, all that kind of stuff, that anybody who goes against it and then calls us out on it, we just want to tell them to fuck off. So somebody who comes back.
I think that's fair enough, though.
Yeah.
I think that's fair enough, and I think you're absolutely right. I think most clubs are like that. It sort of winds me up when people go, "Oh, Sunderland or Newcastle, the fans up there, and blah blah blah." It's like, it's the same for the fans.
Yeah.
We just want to go and be entertained, because it's one of the things that Bielsa did. The first thing that Bielsa did when he came in was made them go out picking litter up for an hour, and it wasn't for anything else other than, just remember, this is how much work the average person has to do in order to buy a ticket to come and see you. It wasn't an hour, it was 2 hours, whatever it was. Yeah. Anyway, and it was for exactly that reason. Sorry, I interrupted you.
We talk about the West Ham way. We talk about this style of football and all that. And I think we have, as this generation of fans, so this kind of last 15 years or so, I think that has changed a little bit. And I think there is a little bit, it's not as naive as people make it out. Like, there is an understanding that this is a competitive league, and it takes a lot to stay in there. And, you are going to have to adapt and be flexible because everybody else is adaptive. All the best teams are adaptive and flexible. I think the thing which, when I go back to Moyes, as I say, because he's the best example of it, is the inflexibility of that brand of football. And the way that it is just a case of exactly as Thomas Frank does. Go 2 goals ahead, sit back. And we would do that, but we don't have £1 billion stadium and £1 billion squad. We've got Max Kilman. So you go a goal ahead and you sit back as soon, and this is the thing with Moyes, we'd go ahead and we would sit straight back. If we go ahead in 4 minutes, we're sitting back for 86. And you haven't got the squad to do it. And you will just get pummeled 5-0 because there is an inflexibility in that approach to football, because they will just sit back and sit back and sit back and just, play out for the draw. That becomes the thing then.
To be fair, if you've gone 1-0 up, you can't get beaten 5-0.
All right.
But I take your point. Yeah. Let me just ask you another thing. Is Premier League football just becoming a bit more basic? Is it just going back to what it used to be? I watched some of the old Leeds games and it's quite pragmatic. It's get the ball forward as quickly as possible, 2-3 passes, get in there, shoot.
Yeah.
And it's that sort, and it seems to be that. I mean, even Man City are playing that way. Haaland has come in, and that, we're not seeing loads of play around the back. We're not seeing people holding on to the ball, and so that's part of the bigger question, which is, are teams are people happy with that?
It's weird, isn't it? Because, like I said, there's teams who are probably just happy to be in the Premier League, and I'm not including Leeds in this, because Leeds are a massive club and have European pedigree and have won titles, division titles, league titles. And I think there's a real, like you say, when you go back and you look at some of the old games, the thing that's changed as well is technology and pitches. So, like, there was maybe a need to play slightly more Route 1 because you couldn't zip a ball like you can nowadays. And I think that's grown in terms of the technical ability of the player and the technical ability of the players that we attract. The fans, and I think Pep is a lot to do with this, have kind of become a little bit tired of it. So tiki-taka, I'm bored shitless by it because it doesn't go anywhere. You can pass the ball 18 times and take a shot, and you're like, oh, okay. There's a balance in the middle where it just needs to be 5 passes, and fast. That's kind of feels like a brand of football.
But it seems to me that apart from potentially Arsenal, maybe Liverpool, everybody else is this sort of transitional side now.
Yeah.
Everybody else seems to just... Newcastle seem to play that sort of way. Tottenham are clearly playing that way. Bournemouth are quite famous for doing that. Obviously, Nuno is quite famous for playing that sort of... Now, is it because... that, like you've just said about staying in the Premier League, is it because there's so much at stake?
But yeah, absolutely. I think there is a degree of that, and I think the other thing that kind of speaks to it is value and funds available. So, like Bournemouth, their stadium, the Vitality Stadium, famously is like 12,000 capacity.
They're 11,500.
Yeah. So, like, through their gate revenue, they're not going to be able to afford, to sign, Ollie Watkins, for example. They're never going to have that style of player. They'll be able to get somebody on the way up and somebody on the way down. But that then means you've got naivety with somebody who's a bit knackered. And so that dictates somewhat the brand of football you'll be able to play.
Interesting though, that I thought, playing Bournemouth, I thought they were better than Tottenham. They were better than Tottenham.
Iraola is a very good coach. He's somebody who is destined for something enormous, and he was one of the coaches I would have loved at West Ham when we were replacing Moyes. He was somebody I'd really loved.
We tried to get him.
Yeah.
We tried to get him last time we were in the Premier League, and he turned us down for obvious reasons. Who are your next 3 games?
So our next 3 games is Brentford on the 20th on a Monday Night Football. Then we've got Leeds the week after, and then Newcastle after that. So it's, I think out of that, if you were to be positive, you'd maybe come away and go, there's 6 points there.
Okay.
I think there's also equally 0 points.
You need you, because of where you are, you think you need 6 points from those 3.
I think that would be the most positive result. I think I would be happy with 4 if we came away with a win, a draw, and a loss out of those in any order. I have no expectation out of any of those games. I think Brentford have done us, bearing in mind it's Thomas Frank Brentford that have done us in the past. I think Leeds, as you say, are starting to play really well, and I think that's a game which could go either way in terms of that's just going to be a look at the draw on the day as to whose chances land, because we're both a bit shit up front. I think Newcastle is going to be one of those games. Again, like I was saying about Arsenal, is one of those games which West Ham typically in the past would probably lose against Brentford, draw against Leeds, but win Newcastle, and put 3 past them and look like, prime Barcelona for 90 minutes. Equally, I think we could absolutely get done on all 3 of those. But I think that depends partly on how successful Nuno is in terms of transitioning his own backroom staffing and what he can get done over the next couple of weeks in the I almost said off season, stupidly.
Americans in the house.
Yeah, I feel sick.
Yeah.
In my job, I was in a classroom and somebody had a Leeds sweater on. It wasn't Leeds United; it just said Leeds on it, and I said Leeds, and I almost was sick because I was like, it just feels wrong. But there was just like a little bit of.
You can't help yourself because most, especially now we're back in the Premier League, we live rent free in all fans' heads. Our next 5 are Burnley, West Ham, Burnley away, West Ham at home, Brighton away, Nottingham Forest, and then Villa. Now, when I look at those 5 games, I'm looking at this thinking that we could get 12 points, right? I'm thinking. Now, we won't, but I'm thinking if we got 12 points, because then our next games are these: Manchester City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Brentford away, Crystal Palace. We're not getting much from them.
No.
Palace, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. So the 5 that are coming up, I think we've got to get as many points as possible, because the 5 after that, we'll be lucky to pick up the odd point. And so suddenly you start looking at it going, actually, the pressure's on here.
Yeah. And equally our next 5. So Brentford at home, Leeds away, Newcastle at home, Burnley at home, Bournemouth away. So you're looking Brentford, Leeds. There's going to be a win and a draw. I think there's 4 points there. Newcastle, we're going to lose. Burnley, I would hope we'd get 3 points. Bournemouth, I think, could go either way. So I'm gonna go pessimistic slightly. So let's go 7 out of those 5. Our following 5: Liverpool at home, Man United away, Brighton away, Villa at home, Man City away. So there's
a similar picture, isn't it?
Liverpool. I still think Villa are a threat. They're not doing brilliantly this season, but I do think
they're getting better.
They have got some amazing talent and a manager in Emery who is really, really good. Man City, we're not getting anything out of that. Brighton, I think we could struggle there.
If we look again at the league after these next 5, we'll have a clearer idea of what's happening, I think.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If we are after those 5, so what's that? 7? What did I say? 7 points. I mean,
the daft thing is, if we'd have beaten Tottenham, and I know it's ifs and ands, but this is how tight the league is. If we'd have beaten Tottenham, we'd have been level on points with them, I think.
Yeah.
It's crackers.
Yeah, and you look at Forest then. So Forest are on 5, we're on 6. No, 5, we're on 4.
Yeah.
So if I'm saying we get to 11, Forest under Ange Postecoglou, I think he's a good manager, and I think they're just having a bit of a shit start, and I think they're just trying to get used to going from Nuno ball to Ange ball, which is is always going to be an issue. There's always going to be a thing, but I think he's got the players there as well. I think Forest have got a really good squad. If they get a similar run, then the best we can hope for in those 5 games is to be 18th, is to go above Burnley. And that feels dire.
No, but that's dire, isn't it? It's dire. It really is. It's like, but this is how tough I think it's going to be this year. I think, from those 5 games.
I mean, I would hope there'd be a distance between us and Burnley after those 5 games, and I think Burnley would maybe still be there or thereabouts, kind of maybe 6, 7, 8 points, whatever, and we are at least 3 points ahead of them. But 18th after 10 games is. Or whatever much it is.
It's a killer.
Yeah.
It's a killer. All right, let's not dwell on that too much because we've got 2 weeks to wait for the football. So like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. Do all that. And we'll see you after the international break.
Yeah.
Because I can't be asked to talk about England or all like that. Not doing it.
No. Jared Boyd's been picked. Happy at that.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, as long as it comes back uninjured.
Yeah, that's the worry, innit? Because loads of ours will be going off to. We've got almost the entire Welsh squad, so they'll all be going off.
Yeah.
He's just flying off, God knows where. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Adios.